Oke, selamat sore semuanya. Terima kasih telah bergabung bersama kami di sini untuk webinar hari ini, sore ini. Sebentar lagi akan dibuka oleh Mr. Matt Evans. Jadi untuk question and answer itu bisa di-input di chat box. Untuk ini juga, untuk kita mulai sebentar lagi ya, ini harap untuk di-mute dan di-turn off aja videonya. Oke, shall we start?
Sounds good. Are you happy for me to start, Eva?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Right. So just before I share screens, thanks so much, Ibek, for inviting me to speak today. To you guys, I really appreciate it. It's great to see you all. Thank you for taking the time to come and listen to us today. I hope this will be useful. I hope this will be interesting. And obviously, we're always available to take questions and queries. I think we're going to have a bit of time at the end to get into that, I believe. So I'm going to share screens and kick off. So I'll just make sure, hopefully, this is coming through loud and clear. So I hope that's coming through okay. I'm just going to open chat as well so I can see. Any problems, just drop me a message in the chat. But yes, thank you so much for coming. My name is Matt and I'm the Director of Recruitment for the UK for Into. You may have heard of Into, you may not have heard of Into. What I'm hoping to do today is tell you a bit more about who we are, what we do, the service that we provide to international students, and some of the great opportunities that you have with us in the UK within our network for you to consider. So we have fantastic partnerships across the UK with a range of different universities. And I think what we really can offer is something for everybody. So I'm seeing there's a good number of you on the call today, and all of you are going to have your own plans, your own ideas, your own preferences, your own career prospects. And I think what we can offer within the network is hopefully something that really suits you and your goals and your interests, whether that's to go into finance or to become an engineer, to go into health programs or computing or data science, whatever it might be. We've got something there for you. And we are really the experts in the UK around international students and supporting them to reach their goals going forward. So lots of exciting programs and exciting opportunities across the UK within our centres. So our kind of mission, I suppose, is that we work very closely with these universities. In fact, we form what's called a joint venture partnership with those universities, which means we're very, very closely connected. We work with the university to help them extend their reach to students across the globe. So where obviously many universities in the UK accept students with international qualifications, they may not accept the local qualifications, or it may be that students need some support to transfer from their local education system to the UK education system. That's where we come in Into to provide fantastic programs that help you to make that transition between your home education and UK education, ultimately with the goal to make sure that you have a fantastic experience at the university, but not just that, that you exceed and that you meet your potential when you're studying at the university, be that to get a great result in your degree, or it might be to take an internship or a placement, or whatever your goals might be will help you to get there. So that's what we do at Into, and I'll get into some more detail about that as we move through the presentation. But just to step back for a moment and talk a little bit about why you might want to study in the UK. So obviously there are opportunities to study in a wide variety of countries, but I feel quite strongly that the UK offers a really unique and a fantastic range of opportunities in what has historically been the kind of center of international education for centuries almost. So obviously it goes without saying that we have world-class universities, and obviously world-class universities in quite a small geographical area when you consider it. the sheer density of opportunities in universities in the UK is unbelievable. And you've got, you know, many of the world's top universities in quite a small area. So you've got a lot of choice. Many of those universities are very, very ancient in the sense that they have, you know, roots that go back hundreds of years and that kind of outstanding research reputation. But we also have more modern institutions as well that serve different functions. So I'll get into that a bit later. A UK degree is an internationally recognized qualification. Wherever you go to work, and, you know, at the moment, I appreciate this is not necessarily completely true right now, but I think in the future, and certainly in the past, before this year and last year, people were working all around the world, wherever they came from. And even if you're working in your home country, the company you work for is likely to be international in its view, and possibly even international in how it's set up. And so that's an incredibly useful qualification to have when looking at opportunities here, something that is solid and recognized across the world. We also benefit from shorter courses versus many international destinations. So our undergraduate programs are generally 3 years, and our postgraduate tour programs are generally just the 1 year. Obviously, many great career opportunities here in the UK too. London being one of the kind of business and finance capitals of the world means there's a lot of companies that base their either UK or European or even world headquarters somewhere in the UK. And it's not just about London. We've got cities across the UK that provide amazing opportunities for internships and placements. So if you're interested in employability and you're interested in developing your future plans and future careers, it's an amazing place to be. And just a simple point, it's one of the most popular study destinations. Over 500,000 international students study in the UK each year. So you can be confident that both the interview centres and our partner universities are very, very well-versed in international students, what they desire, what they need, what their demands are, and serving those interests. So hugely experienced in this, and obviously just great for you to be in a destination where you can meet people from all around the world, not just people from the UK, people from wider Europe, from all the continents of the world. We've got students who come to the UK. And the final point for those of you who are looking to develop your language skills, obviously being a great way to continue to improve, immersing yourself in the language while you're studying in the UK, and just developing not just the practical skills, but the academic language skills as well that are going to be very, very helpful in your further study. So as I mentioned, we've got such a range of universities and such a range of programs within our portfolio. And like I said, I think it does appeal to everybody, and have an option for everybody. So like I said, some of the older, more ancient red brick traditional universities that are often known as being very research intensive, often well reputed in the rankings, particularly. But we also, like I say, have more modern institutions. And there's a couple of tiers of these in terms of when they were launched, but they often focus on more interdisciplinary teaching, have a wider range of subjects available, and might focus more on sort of vocational or hands-on learning, which means getting you in the workplace or getting you in industry, perhaps during your degree, and giving you more careers-focused subject teaching. So there's really options across the board. Whatever you're looking for, again, whatever your desired outcomes, speak to us, speak to IBEC, and together we can help to find you the perfect option. Just digging into the international comparison, again, I talked about the UK and the US. Obviously, just time in study is obviously quite an important factor for many students. Not least because there's a cost implication. Obviously, the longer you study, you're paying tuition fees for that time, but also you've got to think about your accommodation and you've got to think about your cost of living. And also you might just be very eager to get into the workplace and start your studies or start your further studies. And so it is useful to know that we have a lot of ability to kind of accelerate your learning. And I'm going to talk a bit about that from a pathway perspective later as well, because we do also at Into have accelerated programs that we're able to promote. And again, that save you time, save you money, and get you to where you want to go very quickly. You might ask why this is the case. Why is it that the UK programs are shorter? To generalize a little bit, the reason for this is that we are quite focused in our programs and our curriculums, perhaps versus some programs you might see in, for example, the US. So in the US, generally, when you choose your major, you may still be choosing electives, and you may have modules that are not related to your onward study. In the UK, there are opportunities to engage with extracurricular activity and go to lectures that are unrelated to your subject, but generally they don't bear credits. So if you are quite focused and you want to do marketing, for example, and you want to make sure those 3 years studying marketing are developing as much of your marketing skills and knowledge as possible, in the UK, you can be confident that every module you're going to study, if you want, will be related to your onwards career choice, which again is just useful in terms of developing those skills. It's a generalization, but that's broadly speaking what is happening there. So I've touched on some of these already, but just kind of taking again a wider view of benefits of studying in the UK. I've already talked about the support that you get because of the experience that we have in both our Into centres and our university partners, working with and helping international students. So you get a huge amount of support. There's that personal development through being in an environment with lots of other international students, placements, internships, the opportunity to engage in that kind of activity is great for you personally. And obviously your language skills are going to develop a huge amount too. I talked about choice, hundreds and hundreds of degree programs that we have as progression routes from our Into programs available to you. And there is that flexibility too, and I'll talk a bit more about that during when I talk about Into programs. You don't necessarily have to decide on your final degree destination before you do your foundation or your international year 1 or your graduate diploma, because we have that flexibility within our programs. Finally, just to pick up on one of these, PSW, you may have heard of this. This is about working in the UK after you've completed your degree studies. And that is a route that is going to be available for students going forward. So allowing you to stay in the UK and work after graduation, depending on your study plan for possibly up to a couple of years. And even before that, one of the other benefits of studying in the UK is you can work during your studies. So you can get a part-time job, but on or off campus, gets you a bit of pocket money, spending money for the weekends perhaps, but also experience. And that's work experience, but also cultural experience, meeting people from outside the education network in the UK, meeting local people perhaps, and meeting other people in work. So it's all very, very exciting, very helpful, and helps to benefit you hugely. So that's my sense about the UK, and I think lots to be excited about for you guys if you're considering coming over. So we talked about why study in the UK. Well, why study with Into? You obviously have choices out there, and I want to just try and articulate what makes Into so special. Now, I talked already about the partnerships that we have with our universities, and that's, for me, what really makes us unique. So the fact that we work so closely with the university that we're partnering with means that the programs that you study with us are tailored by the university, validated by the university to maximize your preparation specifically for the university and their programs, but also your opportunities to get a great result and succeed wonderfully well. We also have that variety and those opportunities across undergraduate and postgraduate that I already spoke about, which are absolutely fantastic. The level of language preparation and getting that exposure to university life is really, really unique and a fantastic opportunity to be on campus, be engaged with the university before you start your degree program. You can imagine that when you start in year 1, or year 2, if you're doing an international year 1, you would feel really well prepared. You'll feel really like the university, the students, you've maybe already joined clubs and societies, you're familiar with the local city or town that you're in. So it's just a big advantage. And I've got to say, especially this year with everything that's been going on, the level of support that you get from our centres, both in terms of your pre-arrival accommodation and study support, but your academic support and just general well-being, the centres do an amazing job of taking care of our students and making them feel comfortable and welcome so they can focus on what this is all about, which is working hard and studying hard, but also having a great time, meeting new people and expanding your own horizons. So this is what makes Into so special. And this is not a service that you'll find elsewhere. This is really something that we specialize in. And I think, 14,000 students have come through Into and do so each year from all around the world, many of which, you know, coming from Indonesia or from your kind of area as well. So you will meet people who are similar backgrounds to you, but you'll also meet people from all around the world. And I think the satisfaction of our students really speaks for itself. But what does this mean for you in practical terms as well? I'm taking one example here, but I could have taken an example from any of our centers. But I'm trying to mix it up a bit today and talk about a few different people as well. So just looking into Exeter for one moment, we looked at the cohort that went on to the university to study from our international year one back in 2018. So they obviously progressed from the center to the university and then graduated from the university. You can see that the results that they got, both a merit 2-1 or a distinction or a first, were absolutely fantastic. So the pass rate was fantastic, but also the level of students getting a really high result from their degree was so high, you know, well over 80% getting the top grades. That's really a testament to our center staff, our academic team, our support teams across all of our centers, because this is the story that you'll see at every center that you want to go to look at or to see. You'll see this sort of story, which is really fantastic. Looking more closely at the last academic year, despite all of the challenges that were happening with COVID, with students doing new delivery models, with all the potential for disruption that they might have felt, our students actually achieved record outcomes, which again, testament to the resilience and the energy of our students, but also testament to the centers themselves and their fantastic work supporting them throughout. So well over 90% of our successful students were eligible to progress to our partner, and 100% were eligible to progress to a UK university, which is obviously what the goal for students is, and it's just a fantastic result all around. So really proud of our students, but also proud of our centres this year. Through everything, we're keeping everybody on track, keeping students well supported, and they're finding that they're getting outcomes even better than in the past, which is just fantastic. So again, just to take a step back, what is it exactly that we are offering in our Into centres? So we offer a range of different programs. The biggest program, or often the most well-known programs that we offer, is called a foundation program. So this is generally for students who haven't done maybe an international qualification, like maybe you've not done A-levels or IB, and you haven't started your degree yet locally, but you've completed your kind of 12 years of schooling in the local system, and you want to study in the UK, but you need a foundation to take you from your high school study to the first year degree level. So this works very simply. The program is usually 3 terms. You take that 3 terms study from September or January, and then you do usually 9 months of study, and then you join the degree program in the first year if you're in England or Northern Ireland, or in the second year if you're in Scotland, having a 4-year degree system. So very, very simple, and I'll get onto this a little bit later because we do have accelerated options for this, many of which are starting this spring. So there are still opportunities for you this spring to progress in September 2021 and stay on track. But I'll get into that in a bit more detail later. We also have something called the International Year 1. This is effectively an option for you if you've maybe completed A-levels, or you've taken the first year of your university study, or maybe a diploma locally, but you maybe haven't met the either language or academic requirements to join directly at the university in that first year of study. So we offer an option called the International Year 1 or International Diploma in Scotland, where it's equivalent to the first year of study and happens at the same time, but you get additional academic preparation and English language support, plus all that fantastic support that Into provides that I mentioned before, to help you with all aspects of your study, to keep you on track. So you don't need to do that extra year. You can still do your 3-year study plan, but with a bit of extra support from us at our end to help you succeed and help you do well. So that's a fantastic program as well that we have. Again, I won't spend too long on this, but a lot of different subject areas that you can study at International Year 1, just like foundation, and really helps you to keep on track, save some money without extending your study plan, and ultimately reach the highest standards on your degree as well. Finally, for those of you who are looking at postgraduate study, we have the International Graduate Diploma programs, as well as the pre-masters programs that you'll find. These are, again, like the foundation, but for your master's programs. So maybe you've taken an undergraduate degree or a diploma locally or in another study destination, but you've taken it in a different subject maybe, and you want to do a master's in a different area. So maybe you did your undergraduate degree in English language, but you want to do a master's in data science. It might be that you would use a graduate diploma to help you bridge the knowledge difference between those two. Or it might be simply that the undergraduate degree you have or diploma isn't recognized for direct entry and you need some additional support, or you just want to enhance your research, language and study skills in preparation for your master's. This is where one of our programs, the graduate diploma or the pre-masters, would come in. Finally, just to expand on this, and I know that we've got Queen's University Belfast here today, so this is very relevant for them. We also offer programs that are called Degrees with Preparation programs. To take Queen's as an example, this would be a program where we have an International Year 1 that I discussed, but we include the undergraduate degree together into a single CAS. So you have a single study plan, a single visa. This is fantastic in terms of opens up new English language tests that you can use. It's obviously very straightforward and simple process because you only have the single visa application and the single study plan, and you're fully integrated with the university during that study. So again, I'll touch on this a little bit later, but this is a fantastic opportunity to really have the smoothest study plan that you can. And again, IBEC and ourselves, we're happy to answer any questions you might have on this. So let's talk about what's next. Let's talk about what's coming up for us into what opportunities we have for you that might be interesting that are coming up very, very soon. So obviously, if you're thinking about studying in the UK, you're probably looking at September for starting your degree program. So if you want to take one of our programs at Into to prepare you for the degree, you generally need to start that before you're going to join the university. So if you're wanting to study in the university in September 2021, we have a range of programs in our spring intake that are available for students to join. They're slightly accelerated, so they're often 2 terms rather than 3 terms, but still allow you to progress to the university this year. So if you want to join the university this year, I thoroughly recommend these spring intake programs, which allow you to come and join, again, across a range of universities and a range of subject areas, keep you on track and start your degree this year. We have, obviously, like I said, lots of different areas of study that you can join. We have merit scholarships available that you can inquire to our local teams about. If you have great grades and you want us to take a look at that, we can look at that too. And the accelerated nature of these programs. So whereas many of these programs are usually 3 terms, these programs are 2 terms. So this just gets you, means you don't have to delay your university study until 2022, but you can actually start your university study this year. And we have kind of flexible delivery options for some of these programs as well, which I'll talk about a little bit later in terms of, what about online on-campus study? How does this work? I'll get into a bit more detail. So please take a good look at these. If you want to get started this year, I really recommend you explore one of these spring intake programs. So there you have it. Now, moving on to a topic that I think is probably very much in the forefront of your minds, and if not your minds, then I'm sure your parents' minds and others, thinking about the study experience in the COVID world that we're in at the moment. So there isn't just one route to progressing to the university with Into. So this spring, many of our programs offer flexible study options, which allows you to study on campus if you want and if you can. And I think this is what most of you will be hoping to do, I'm sure. Because like I said, there's so much to the experience of being in the UK, being on the university campus and exploring those opportunities from the UK. I'm sure that a lot of you are really keen to do this. But we also appreciate that it's not always possible for students to be able to get themselves on campus by the start date of the program. So depending on your situation, maybe there are travel restrictions, maybe it's a challenge for you to get the English tests that you might need to get a visa, or even just to apply for the visa itself. There could be challenges there. Hopefully not, but things can change quickly at the moment. So what we've done it into is we've implemented, across many of our programs, what's called the come when you can policy. This allows you to either come on campus for day one, and we'll be delighted to meet you, at the campus if that's what you are able to do. But equally, if you need to start online, you can do that. You can then get your visa and travel when you can, transitioning to the UK at your discretion, and then continuing on campus. And just to highlight, this is very flexible. So there's no deadline or limit to when you can do that transfer. So if you're doing a 2-term program, it might be you only need to do a week online because you're almost ready. That's fine. It might be you need a month online because there's still, visa centers maybe aren't open or whatever the challenge might be. That's fine too. So you just have to communicate to us clearly what your plans are. Make sure that we know. What we don't want is for you to, arrive and land, and on the plane you text us and tell us you're in the UK. That might take us by surprise a little bit, but it's good to have some time to prepare. But I think if you can keep us posted and keep us up to date, then we can offer this really flexible option again for most of our programs. And just to highlight, it does mean that you don't miss anything, because of course the online study options means that you just get started on day one, just like the rest of our students. And at the moment, just for context, it's around a 50-50 probably, students who are starting on campus and students who are starting online. And then gradually those who start online generally are coming over to the UK. But even if, you start online and then you find that the worst situations happen and you just can't travel to the UK during the course, you can even complete the course online. So maximum flexibility, again, is what we offer into on this regard. It is a challenge. It has been a challenge for us to, to create this level of flexibility, but really, really proud of how successful this has been. And again, you've seen the results of our students this year who've had this flexibility already, and they're really thriving with that option to really create their own plan, and we can work with them on that. Now, when and if you do arrive in the UK, you will of course notice that some things are different. You'll see enhanced hygiene, as you would expect across our universities and our centres. And we're taking a little bit of extra care, as you might expect, to support you with both the journey and when you arrive here in the UK. And I won't get into the full detail of this, but you can see the sort of welcome and starter packs that you'll have with us if you use our accommodation or our referred accommodation, and how we can support you through the quarantine period if you do have to take a quarantine period in the UK. So back in July last year, I was traveling outside the UK, and when I came back, I had to do the quarantine period. Just to say, it's very simple and straightforward in the UK. Obviously, we have a huge amount of delivery services for supermarkets, Amazon, clothes, food, restaurants, everything you might imagine. And our centres will support you and guide you through that quarantine period if you do need to take one. And the fantastic thing about our ability to study online also means that you don't need to arrive early and do your quarantine period first. You can arrive and start your studies online during your quarantine. And, depending on whether you're in England or the rest of the UK, there is also the ability to take a test and be released early from quarantine if you test negative in certain areas as well. So you're very well supported, and it's absolutely nothing to worry about. If anything, it's an opportunity to catch up on some sleep, start to engage with your studies online, and maybe catch up on a few films or TV shows from your room until your quarantine is over. So very straightforward. And just to highlight as well, something that's really great in the UK is in terms of healthcare, all international students who are coming on a student visa or a short-term study plan will be either eligible for the immigration health surcharge or just having access to the NHS care as part of their short-term study visa. This means that you have access to our healthcare system in the UK, which does include free COVID testing and free treatment if you do need anything. So just to be aware, should the worst happen and you need some support in this area, and we hope you won't, you will have access to the UK healthcare system for that. But again, not something we've had to worry about so far, so hopefully won't come up. Just again, taking it from a student directly, we've got a great video here from one of our students at Into UEA talking about his experience arriving in the UK during this time. So I hope this will be interesting and useful for you. Just a heads up, the volume might be quite high, so watch your headphones or your speakers if you've got them.
When I got in my room, the first thing I did, quite like the most average students, I turned on my laptop and I tried to sign in the Wi-Fi. They had to give me a direction, where to go, what should I take, and everything was done through email, concise, simple. I mean, nothing to worry about. When I arrived in the center, I remember being welcomed in a really safe manner. I had to do the quarantine because I came from Switzerland and I was on the red list, unfortunately. I got food from breakfast, lunch and dinner. All fruits, all veggies, all meat, and I could even choose, which, I mean, it's like a hotel, you choose what you eat. The orientation is something that I particularly enjoyed. They actually had the head of academics and he took me around the campus. There are some classes that are done through online. You get to talk with the teacher the same as in your classroom. Most of the classes I'm attending, it's face-to-face. Is the experience different? It's not. And that's what I like about the support that they're having here. The center supports me really well. We are all wearing masks. Teacher is also equipped with either a mask or a helmet glass. And we have this technological board where the teacher is explaining everything through it. I think technology is a wonder, but I would recommend coming here.
Okay, so that hopefully gives you a bit of an idea of what it's like to arrive in the UK as one of our students. And again, all those precautions and the care that you'll see are reflected across all of our centres. So obviously being on campus in many ways is what students are expecting and are interested in. And there are obviously benefits to that, as I've talked about, the ability to be face-to-face with your teacher and other students, and to be on campus, and all of that is really, really relevant. But I did want to just say a bit about the online learning experience. Now, again, in the interest of fairness, I'm switching my view now and talking about Into City for a short period, but just a little bit about the online learning experience for you. The crucial points are that it's the same program, same content, same teachers, same guaranteed progression outcomes, and fully supported. So again, you're not missing out on anything if you do need to start online. And, in some ways, students have actually found that there's some benefits to this too, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But just taking the example of Into City, if you study online or begin online, you'll be involved in a virtual learning environment. For City, it's called Brightspace. It looks a bit like this. And there's all sorts of technology that we use to support both live sessions and asynchronous sessions, tutorials, etc. And the ability for you to track your progress and track your assignments and what's coming up is all very, very useful. And actually, a lot of students find that they really thrive, in those first few days or weeks of studying online, being able to use this technology and feel like they really are supported through it as well. So amazingly enough, there are some advantages to studying online that you might not have thought about. Practical advantages, like I already discussed, if you do start online, you don't need a visa, obviously, to do that. And therefore, if you're struggling to get your visa or your UKVR IELTS, you've got an option to begin your class and not delay. But also, the skills to self-study online are very valuable. The flexibility of the learning materials that you have, being able to study at the time that suits you for the asynchronous content, and lessons planned for your time zone for the live content, gives you a lot of flexibility, even more than you would have on campus, especially if you are maybe doing a part-time job during the day, or you want to study at a particular time. Maybe you're a morning person, you want to get all your work done in the morning before the day starts, or maybe you're someone more like me who stays up late and is more of a night owl. You have some flexibility there, which I think is great. And a lot of students, like I say, have found this really beneficial to them. So it's not all a downside if you have to start online. Actually, there's a lot of upside to it as well. And I think people have had a great experience. Now, just to, I guess, secure some of this information in data, we did take a survey of all of our arrivals in 2020. And we were really thrilled to see the sort of results from that. Again, 97% of the students said they were very excited to start the program, having looked at all the material and spoken to us. Fantastic. And this is absolutely market sector leading. 95% of students fully satisfied with their experience, and well over 90% saying they would recommend their program, not just into, but their actual program itself to a friend. And you can see a testimonial here from Abdenoir, and another testimony here from Janelle, just talking about how they felt supported, they felt helped, and they're enjoying their experience. And I think that's ultimately the most important thing. I think all of the work that we do in our centres with our teams, the support you'll be getting from IBEC before you leave to the UK, we're all trying to help you just make sure that you have a great experience and get the results that you want from your degree. So like I say, this is what we're here for. This is what we specialize in here at Into. And you know, we're excited to potentially have the chance to support you through this experience and through the first year or so of that study abroad plan, and hopefully meet you either online or on campus very, very soon. So that's a kind of general overview of Into and the Into programs across the UK. I would like to now just spend a few minutes talking about one of our centres in particular, and I know one of our sort of sponsor centres for the session today, which is Into Newcastle. Before I do that, I will just quickly check if there are any questions in direct relation to this in the chat. Looks like I'm okay to move on. And hopefully everybody's been able to hear me okay. I believe that we might be recording this, so we'll hopefully be able to share if you've had any problems. So that's great. So I'm going to switch over now and just talk briefly about Into Newcastle before I move on to the next speaker. So excuse me a moment while I just share the next slide deck with you. Okay, wonderful. So I'm going to share screens once again. And we seem to be at the end of the presentation. So spoiler alert, close your eyes if you don't want to see what's coming. There we go. Okay, so fantastic. And it's been great to have the chance to talk to you about the overarching UK Into experience and what we do and what we're here for. And I know you're going to be hearing from Queen's University Belfast very soon, which I'm sure will be a fantastic presentation. But just to focus in now on one of our centres that I'd like to talk about today, which is Into Newcastle. So again, Newcastle University, a fantastic university that we partner with and have partnered with for well over 10 years now. It's one of our first partners was Newcastle University. And many of you have probably heard about Newcastle before. It's a Russell Group university, which is, got a really strong reputation across both business with a triple accredited business school, but also many other subject areas, everything from architecture, engineering programs, to language programs like TESOL and others. There's a huge range of programs there in a fantastic city in the northeast of England. Actually, this is the centre that's closest to where I'm originally from. So I'm from the north of England as well. So it's a city that I spent quite a lot of time in, and that I think is a wonderful place to study. So as I mentioned, it's a university with a really strong reputation. Russell Group has already mentioned, but across the ranking systems, whether you're looking at QS or whether you're looking at the Times, you'll see that it is a very, very highly ranked institution, coming, in the top 25 in the UK, generally across the board, but even across the world, a top 150 university in the QS World Rankings. So that's part of the appeal and the reputation of the university. And it is one of the more, one of the older universities, and you see that classic kind of red brick look the institution that you're going to see, and you're also going to see at Queen's as well, which I think really is exciting and is what a lot of students have in mind when they're thinking of studying in the UK. Just in terms of some programs, I've already mentioned the business school, which is very, very highly ranked in the top 1% of business schools in the world. It's also very highly ranked, as I said, in a number of other areas. So I mentioned architecture, you can see art and design, modern languages, agriculture, marketing, communication, media. So many choices in terms of what to study and where to study at. And all of them very, very well ranked and have a strong reputation with employers as well. So quick video just so that you get a sense of the campus. And I talked about red brick. You can see it right here. This is exactly what I was talking about, but also to show you a bit about the city itself. So this is the main campus here that you can see. So right in the heart of the city centre. So you can see about 10 minutes walk from here, from the River Tyne and from the surrounding area. There's a huge amount of really fantastic local kind of interest places to see. So you saw the beach there, that's over at Bamburgh on the northeast coast, which has some of the best coastline in the UK. You've also seen some of the museums and galleries and the national theatres and others that are in Newcastle that you can visit. So it's a really thriving and bustling student city with a lot to do, but also, that fantastic university too. But it's quite a student city, I would say. It feels very much like a city that's developed to support students, and the nightlife and the opportunities to socialize and join clubs and societies are obviously absolutely brilliant as a place to be as well. So it's a great destination. Just so you get a bit of a sense of where it is. Again, this is Newcastle. So you're a couple of hours, sort of 2 to 3 hours by train to London itself. But obviously Newcastle has a great airport with links through to Dubai and Amsterdam and Paris. So you've got Air France, you've got KLM, you've got both kind of Etihad and Emirates flights going through, which will be very helpful for yourself. And yeah, as mentioned, this is kind of my part of the world. So I'm very, very fond of this part of England. Beautiful coastline on the northeast here with fantastic beaches, but also really interesting historical sites nearby, such as the Roman walls and things like that to go and visit. But a thriving and cosmopolitan city as well. So really, really great place to be, to spend your time. So the centre itself has over 120 different nationalities. So people from all around the world. So just as I mentioned, that cultural experience you're absolutely going to get when you're over at Newcastle. And as a city, I've mentioned, it's a fantastic place to be and visit. And it was also voted one of the most affordable, or rather not voted, but ranked as one of the most affordable student cities in the UK. So lots of the city is really student focused. As I mentioned, this means there are student discounts across the city on various things. And it's not the biggest city by any means, but it does mean that it's very walkable, friendly, very safe and quite compact, as well as being obviously really well connected with that airport and the train services across the UK and the wider kind of Europe and international community. So again, just to highlight, a really, really wonderful place to be. So you can see Gray's Monument here, Long Sands Beach, as I mentioned, a great beach, or there's Bamburgh and Alnwick as well nearby, the Millennium Bridge, and some just beautiful countryside nearby to visit. And you can do this with the centre on some of our trips that we offer. I certainly did offer pre-COVID and hope to offer again very soon, or just yourself exploring. There's so many opportunities to get involved. And like I said, it's an affordable city, very cost effective. And again, at the undergraduate and postgraduate study level, some very low cost fees as well for you to consider for a great university. Just to get a sense of where we are as an Intu Centre, this is the university, and the Intu Centre is right in the middle of the campus. So actually the first building you see when you arrive at Newcastle University campus is our Intu Centre, and it's walking distance from St James's Park if you're interested in football, which is a Premier League football team, Newcastle United. The business school, again, right next to the football stadium, and then all of the venues and the amazing places to visit that I already mentioned in the video, such as the Baltic Centre and music venues and others, are all in walking distance. So if you like to walk, if you like to explore, then this is a great city to be able to do that in. I talked about red brick, but again, you're going to see this in many of our university partners, just a really beautiful campus and a wonderful place to spend time. This building here is the Students' Union, believe it or not, which means this is where you can go and join clubs and societies and spend time and meet other students, make friends, and pursue interesting activities outside of your studies. One thing I did want to highlight is that as an Into student, you're a full member of the university from day one. So even if you're studying a foundation or an English language program with us before you start your degree, you can still go and join the clubs and societies at the university, make friends with current students, explore the campus and use the facilities like libraries and things from day one. And this extends over to things like sports facilities too, and clubs on that side of things. So you get to explore this even before you start your degree, which I think is a fantastic opportunity. There's the Into Center. So as you can see, really great building, really beautiful building with accommodation attached to it. And again, the first thing you see as you come into the student forum is that center. So it's really at the heart of the campus and at the heart of the university itself. So that's the center, as I mentioned. Into Newcastle, a fantastic opportunity for those of you interested in joining Newcastle University, perhaps the business school or in other programs. And again, we hope to be able to see you here or see you online or at one of our other UK centres sometime soon. So I'm conscious of time, and I do have a if you let me talk, I will continue to talk for as long as is required. But I think what I'll do is maybe finish up there and open up for questions or clarifications, maybe for five minutes or so before we move on to the next speaker. So happy to take any queries or questions from IBEC or from any of yourselves at this point, or at the end for the Q&A, whatever you prefer. But in the meantime, thank you so much for listening to me and taking the time out of your day to listen to a bit about Into and a bit about the UK as a study destination. And we're really thrilled and delighted you're considering to come over, and we hope we can help you with that and get you where you want to be. So I guess colleagues at IBEC, is there anything you'd like me to address or expand upon?
No, thank you for your all explanation. So for I want to red brick university. It means it is red brick. Itu tuh bata merah. I will try to speak in Indonesia. Oke, so untuk semuanya, jika bingung juga nih, ada yang menarik tadi dari penjelasannya Mr. Matt Evans mengenai Red Brick University. Itu adalah universitas yang memang kalau kita bicara di era tahun kebelakang itu adalah betul-betul yang dengan bangunan yang berbentuk dari bata merah. Lalu saya sih jika ada yang belum jelas mengenai program-program yang tadi disebutkan oleh Mr. Matt Evans untuk preparation-nya ke jenjang studi S1, tadi disebutkan di sana ada foundation programs, ada international year one juga, dan yang lainnya. Kalau ada yang mau bertanya di sini mengenai program tadi, jika ada yang belum jelas, boleh silahkan taruh di chat box atau boleh juga live. Jika tidak, kita akan lanjutkan lagi ke pembicara selanjutnya. Jadi akan saya tunggu. Oke, itu ada Sultan Raffi atau Subhan Raffi ya? Oh no, saya pikir dia raise hand ya. Ada yang mau bicara atau enggak? Kita akan lanjutkan ke speaker selanjutnya. Oke, Alfikri Mulyadi, silahkan.
Baik, selamat siang Mbak.
Selamat siang.
Di sini aku mau nanya, untuk ke UK kan ya, kita kuliah misalnya untuk strata S1 atau undergraduate.
Yes.
Ketika kita udah memiliki sertifikasi IELTS dan kita udah mau apply nih ke univ yang ada di UK, baru-baru ini saya juga dengar dari temen, ada itu juga selain IELTS, dia ada satu hal yang namanya itu ialah kayak IELTS for UK VI gitu kan ya. Ya. Itu gimana sih Mbak? Maksudnya kita udah punya sertifikat IELTS yang asli gitu, udah mencapai standarisasinya gitu. Apakah ketika kita ingin mengambil visa untuk UK, kita juga harus menyiapkan IELTS for UK VI atau gimana Mbak? Terima kasih.
Terima kasih. Kalau Mas Fikrinya sekarang akan melanjutkan ke S1 ya?
Iya.
Oke, lulusan SMA nasional atau bagaimana?
Private school, swasta.
Swasta dengan nasional kurikulum atau bagaimana?
Iya, 2013.
Halo?
Iya, halo Mbak.
Oke. Mohon maaf, maksudnya nasional kurikulum atau bagaimana?
Kurikulum
Atau
nasional,
IB atau kurikulum nasional?
Iya.
Oke. Let me pass to Mr. Matt. Al-Fikri here want to know about IELTS UKVI. If he directly go into the UK for doing foundation or international year 1.
Sure. So in terms of the requirements, it does vary from program to program in terms of the score that you need. But if you want to join on campus, you do need what's called a CELT, which is a Secure English Language Test. And that's a requirement from the UK government to get a visa. Now, the most common CELT that students get is IELTS for UKVI. There are other CELTs too, like Language Cert and others. So there are other tests you can take to get your visa. But yes, generally you would need to take one of these to get your visa and travel to the UK. However, as I mentioned, because we have the come when you can policy for the majority of our programs, if you can't take the UKVI IELTS right now, or maybe there's a delay, or maybe you can't get a booking in time to start the course, you'll be able to start online using an alternative test. So you can maybe take depending on the center, a Duolingo test or another test that you can do online to meet the requirements for the English language score. Now, while this won't get you your visa, it will allow you to start the course online, and it will buy you some time to get an appointment maybe for an IELTS or a language CELT test to then get your visa and then continue over through to the UK. So we appreciate that it's a challenge, depending on where you are in the world, testing availability, whether there's even a test center nearby that you're able to travel to, you might not be able to do that. So if that's a challenge for you, and if you're not able to do it, my recommendation will be to start online, use an alternative test, such as Duolingo, to meet the requirements, start online, and then when you can take your CELT, so your Secure English Language Test, you can do that, let us know, and then we can arrange for you to be able to come over to the UK. So Eva, I hope that helps, hope that answers the question.
Oke, jadi Al-Fikri ya, mengenai IELTS UKVI itu akan dibutuhkan jika memang berangkat ke UK. Jika tidak berangkat, misalnya memang masih online atau apa, persyaratan IELTS yang ada yang sudah dimiliki oleh Al-Fikri, jika memang sudah memenuhi persyaratannya, itu bisa dipakai. Hanya satu catatannya di sini adalah ketika memang akan pergi, yang dibutuhkan untuk persyaratan visa itu adalah IELTS UKVI. Semoga membantu ya penjelasannya. Halo?
I see, Mbak.
Oke. Ada lagi yang mau bertanya? Atau ada yang mau ditanyakan lagi?
Iva, sebentar.
Yes.
Mohon maaf sebentar. Mas Fikri, boleh saya tanya dikit, Mas?
Iya, Bapak.
Mas Fikri ambilnya IELTS akademik ya?
Iya, yang akademik.
Oke. Kemudian IELTS-nya sudah sesuai permintaan Uni, 6 atau 6,5?
So far masih simulasi dan tahap preparation.
Oh, masih prep. Oke. Jadi gini, biar mudahnya, IELTS itu ada dua macam. Pertama adalah IELTS akademik, satu lagi adalah IELTS UKVI. Untuk mahasiswa calon S1 di Inggris memang diwajibkan untuk ambilnya IELTS UKVI karena melalui jalur foundation. Nah, kalau untuk visa pakai UKVI juga. Jadi kalau sekali ngambil satu IELTS UKVI aja itu sebetulnya udah cukup. Tapi berhubung kondisi sekarang itu memang sedang pandemi, jadi bisa pakai online, belum wajib berangkat, pakai IELTS akademik dulu boleh. Namun menurut saya kalau memang sudah pasti langsung aja ke IELTS UKVI-nya. IELTS yang diselenggarakan oleh Kedubes Inggris. Jadi nggak perlu ambil tes 2 kali nantinya. Begitu kira-kira.
I see, Pak.
Nyambung ya jadinya ya. Oke. Nanti tinggal kalau bingung persyaratannya nanti kontak sama Mbak Iva, nanti biar dibantu Mbak Iva juga.
Terima kasih, Bapak.
Terima kasih. Hi Matt, so sorry to disturb and all of a sudden jumping in. I'm Hendra. There's been a confusion about IELTS UKV IELTS academic. So I just need to clarify a bit. At this stage, we always advise the students to do IELTS UKVI straight away so that they don't have to do another second IELTS test. It will cost them double, but we always advise them prepare, and prepare. Once they are ready, they'll just do the test so that they won't waste the money. Go ahead.
Thank you for clarifying, and I think that's brilliant advice. I fully support that approach.
Thanks. Silahkan lanjut.
Ya, oke. So next session itu kita akan langsung saja ke Miss Ciara. Halo, Miss Ciara.
Hello, good morning.
Hello there. Good morning. So you can
or
start
good afternoon for you guys.
It is.
So you're okay for me to go ahead and start the next session, yes?
Yes, please.
Okay, sure, I'll just share my screen. So you can all see that okay, yeah?
Yeah.
Perfect, okay. So again, just to echo Matt, thank you very much for inviting us both to speak with you today. So my name is Ciara Murray. I work at Into Queen's. I'm an international officer for Queen's University Belfast, and I'm based in the Into Centre right on campus. So one example of how closely connected our partnered institutions are, that we have staff across both institutions to make sure that that transition is really smooth. And what I haven't been invited to speak to you about today is getting the right degree for your bachelor, how to pick the right subject for you. As Matt said, our priority is to make sure that we help you get a study plan that suits you and your goals. So what I'm going to cover today is which degrees are most popular for students in Indonesia, in that general region. What would you learn on those degree programs? And then how do you choose between them? And shortly after that, then I'll just give a brief introduction to where I'm coming from and into Queen's University Belfast in Northern Ireland, and what your pathway options would be for our degree programs. And we'll finish off with another Q&A just in case you have any follow-ups after that. Okay. Where's my mouse? Here we are. So firstly, in terms of covering which degrees are most popular, we would find that generally the top choices for students would still be in the business and management areas, economics and actuarial science. And shortly after that, we would have our engineering and architecture subjects as very popular choices. What we would also find would be health and life sciences, such as biology and pharmacy. And what we're seeing a growing number in at the moment is arts and humanities and social sciences. So for example, subjects like law and psychology, and occasionally some arts like music and drama and film. So I'll go into those a little bit more today. But by all means, if you have a subject interest that's outside that, we can certainly take some questions at the end. So in terms of what you might learn on these degree programs, I don't know about you, but for me personally, even whenever I started my job in higher education, I wasn't sure how to tell the difference between the different subjects in the business and management schools. They seem quite closely connected. So in case that's the case for you as well, I'm just going to separate those so they're a little bit easier to tell apart. So what I would say firstly is that business management, or business in general, is probably more for those of you who are you would consider yourself a people person, because it's really about leading people and working with customers and colleagues to manage changes and strategies in business with new ideas, innovation and creativity. And the other subjects are maybe a little bit more technical, or for people who maybe feel very strong in maths subjects, for example. But if you want to go into this general industry, and you're maybe not that keen on the maths and the calculation side of it, and you like all the creative ideas and people, then maybe business is the choice for you. Finance is sort of does what it says on the tin, as we say here, making and managing money and investing in stocks and trading in currencies, lending, that sort of thing. And then economics is how people relate to all of that, what their behaviors are, how economics is working right now, which is macroeconomics, and then how that influences people's decisions, which is microeconomics. Accounting is more like advising businesses about their finances and how to make decisions based on what income they're generating, their taxes, their payrolls, lots of different things like that, to make sure that they're working to the best possible performance. And then actuarial science, if you're really, really good at maths and you really love to analyze data and get into all of those numbers, that might be an option for you. And generally people would use that to estimate probability, for example, in the insurance industry, where you could calculate the probability of people, you know, possibly having an accident, and that's how you then generate quotes for cover. Okay, so hopefully that differentiates some of those popular business subjects for you in terms of course content. Then I'll move on to our engineering and architecture subjects, which would be the sort of second rate of popularity for students from your region. So mechanical engineering, I think people generally just think of cars when they think of mechanical engineering, and I want to emphasize that it applies to lots of different industries. So it is designing and manufacturing engineering products, but that can also include the likes of mobile phones, or like you see in this photo on the slide. This is a second year project in our mechanical engineering course where students are asked to design and build and then test a bicycle that can fold into a small locker. So it's supposed to be for like city workers, where you could cycle it into work, fold it up, slide it under your desk or into a locker, and then come home again. Aerospace is the same kind of principles, but just focusing on the aerospace industry. And again, although that's generally commercial planes, you're also in this day and age moving into things like drones and things as well. So that's moving forward a lot as well. It would be a very interesting area to work in right now, I think. Chemical engineering is converting your source materials and energy into products. So generally, pharmaceuticals would be one of the main industries that chemical engineering students would work in. But again, other things that people don't necessarily think about, paints, chemical makeups of lots of different products. And again, going back to mobile phones and mechanical engineering, there's chemical engineering behind your phone screen for the colors that you see and all that sort of thing. So it can be applied to lots of different industries again. Civil engineering, actually, I might switch these around. Architecture kind of comes first in that process. So our architects would design and build, obviously, the buildings and the environment, in terms of how it's going to look, how people are going to function in it, how sustainable it is in the long term. And then that kind of process is passed on to civil engineers, because they then plan the construction and the maintenance of those buildings that have been designed by the architects. And they work on how that is going to function and relate to the environment then over the years that it exists. Okay, so hopefully that covers some of the engineering and architecture options and the course content for those. And then I'll move on to that health sciences area that we also find is quite popular. So biological sciences, again, pretty self-explanatory, does what it says on the tin. Everything from animal biodiversity to plants and humans in terms of genetics and physiology. But I think the key thing is how these subjects are relating to the world around us. So at the moment, something that would be key in the middle of that would be climate change, which is a huge issue, and how all of these different things are being affected. Also food security and global health issues. So things that are really, really prevalent right now, especially off the back of the pandemic. I think these would be really interesting subjects in that realm to study. Human biology, again, it's sort of like the mechanical to aerospace. It's the same principles, but applying it specifically to human life and human physiology. And within that, then you can specialize in specific aspects of that subject area, like neuroscience or genetics, for example. And again, I think I'm going to flip these two subjects around, because really I feel that pharmaceutical sciences comes first in the process. So these are the people who create the medicines and drugs and design them in all the different stages of development. And then the process is passed on to our pharmacists who are, whenever you study pharmacy, you are studying that to become a practicing pharmacist who dispenses medicines. And you'll then take that off the pharmaceutical scientists and work with people in the community in terms of dispensing them and becoming experts in what's relevant to which health issues. Okay. And finally, I'll move on to that sort of humanities and arts and social sciences area that we're seeing growth in as well. So interestingly, psychology at Queen's University Belfast sits in the engineering and science faculty rather than social sciences. And it's really because it focuses on the science of behaviour. And that's from biological aspects and what's there already to the developmental aspects, cognitive and social experiences as well. And there's a lot of interdisciplinary learning in this subject area. For example, the students on psychology might work very closely with the students in business to examine consumer behaviour and how to use that in business strategies. Then law, again, pretty self-explanatory, that one. It's interaction of individuals, governments and state at lots of different levels, and in private and public law, and how that affects lots of different socio-legal perspectives. And generally it would be quite focused on regional but also international levels of law, and you can take that forward into a range of different master's programs to specialise then in whichever aspects of the Bachelor have really taken your interest. Then film studies and production. There are 2 film courses at Queen's University Belfast. So film studies and production is your screenwriting, your directing, your editing, and then we have film and theatre production, which is more like the live production of sets, for example, for music festivals or for theatre, before the performances take place. Okay, and then the film studies and production is sort of the after work. Again, music and audio production, similar thing. So this is all your editing, your recording, your mastering, your mixing in the studio. And we also have music and sound design, which is more about the initial composition of the music. So there are a range of different courses there available, but that should hopefully give you an idea of the content of these very popular programs and which ones then might be more of interest to yourself. Okay, so we'll move on. How do you then choose which is the right program for you? I know how overwhelming this can seem. It seems it's such a huge decision. It's a big chunk, good few years of your life, and it shapes your future career opportunities. And I get the weight that can have. But really, I just want you to feel more excited about it, and that this is really going to give you so many different opportunities and pathways. And a lot of the degree programs that I've just mentioned here can be applied to lots and lots of different industries and areas and have very, very transferable skills. So I think the first question that you should really be asking yourself is, what do you like doing? What do you enjoy? What gives you the most pleasure in your studies? And also, which things are you good at? What do you tend to get good grades in? And are they the same thing? Or are they slightly different? Which one works better for you? And where could those subject areas, once you identify them, where could they lead? What career opportunities do they pose? Where could you be in 5 or 10 years' time if you pursue that subject? So that would be my first thing. Do a little bit of soul searching in terms of, Marie Kondo, what gives you joy? And then move on to what's important for you in those subject areas. So when you're choosing an institution or choosing your bachelor, what's your priority? Is it the course or university ranking and reputation? Is it the location where you're going to study? What sort of city do you want to live in? Is it the course content? Like I just mentioned, maybe there are specific like specialisms, like I mentioned, that you might want to cover, and therefore you might want to research into course content in the bachelors that the institutions offer. Cost and safety of where you're going to be could also be a big priority, or maybe you're just really focused on that end goal and your career options, and maybe then you want to have a bachelor which offers a placement year that could prepare you for your career. which subjects offer the best employment prospects for you. And what I would do whenever I've kind of gathered all of that information, something that I personally love to do, is then create a list. Check off all your pros and cons. Identify your top 3 priorities. Look at your institutions that offer the subjects that you've picked in that step 1, and then tick whether it has those things and whether it maybe doesn't, and then weigh up those pros and cons to identify which one sits above the rest. That's how I would work it out personally. What I would advise is that you take your time. Like I mentioned, I understand it's a big decision and you want to get the right choice. So make sure that you've taken enough time to do your research, look up all of these priorities and the institutions that you're considering, think them through, sleep on it, make sure that you're making an informed decision, and talk to people about it. Talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to your friends here at IBEC to make sure that you're getting lots of input from lots of different perspectives to feel confident about the choice that you're making. And don't be afraid if that's different to what you've maybe thought for the last few years. If you've had it in your head that you're going to do actuarial science, for example, and that's been your focus and that's what you've been telling everyone, don't be afraid to think now, well, maybe I might not like to work specifically in actuarial science and have a few more options in terms of industries or career prospects. So I think I might go into one of the other finance related subjects. That's fine. So get to know yourself, get to know your priorities, talk to everyone around you and hash that out. And then when you're coming to a decision, rest assured that it's an informed one and that you've got there yourself through a really comprehensive process. That would be my advice on how to get the right bachelor for you. And now we'll kind of cover how we will help you get there. So I'll give you a brief introduction, first of all, to where I'm coming from, Queen's University, Belfast. Like Matt talked about, we are one of those traditional ancient red brick institutions in the UK. We're in the top 10 oldest and most beautiful universities in the UK. We actually share a lot of characteristics with Newcastle University, being a big red brick institution, a member of that Russell Group, which I think Matt mentioned is like the UK's version of the Ivy League of research intensive universities. And although we have all of that history and reputation, you know, there's £700 million of investment underway to make sure that all of the facilities are as modern as possible and they're suitable for 2021 students. We are very international, 21st in the world for international outlook, with over 3,000 international students on campus, and have many of our subjects in global and UK rankings. Okay, so I'll cover those a little bit later, but just as a first introduction to Queen's University. So I'll give you a few photos of our lovely campus. Our main building is called the Lanyon Building, this beautiful red brick area that you can see here, and our quad in between the sort of square that building takes up, and that would be where you would graduate in a few years' time if you joined us on the lawns with some strawberries and cream and shortbread. Then our multi-award-winning Maclay Library, you can see here, which is consistently ranked, you know, world #1 in terms of student satisfaction. And you can see why with the facilities that we have there, that has benefited from a lot of that investment that I mentioned. And generally just some of the school buildings that you would have access to whenever you're on campus. And you can see that combination of that ancient red brick historical campus with the brand new facilities. So this building on the top left is where you might study chemical engineering, for example, and also psychology. That's one of the oldest red brick buildings in Europe. And this other red brick building is the Riddle Hall, which is where you would study all of the business and management subjects, and where we would have Bloomberg trading rooms and facilities in there. So that would be where all the business and finance subjects sit. Then this big colourful building at the top has benefited from £14 million of investment over the last few years. That's our new computer science building. And we really invested a lot of money in that because that's really an industry that is booming right now in Northern Ireland. And I'll come to that a little bit later. Now, I don't really know anything about computer science, but these stripes on the front are supposed to represent computer binary code. So if we have any computer scientists on the call, you can tell me whether that makes sense to you. For me, I just like the colors. And then finally, our new biological sciences building. I walk past this building every day on the way to school. And this whole section of the building is glass to show you all of the students and staff doing their lab work. So sometimes I feel a little bit creepy that I stand and watch them on the path, because it just looks so interesting, all of the testing that they're doing in the labs. So really, really fantastic facilities. So in terms of what you can expect from the campus culture, what's it like to be a student there? Over 200 clubs and societies and over 50 sports clubs. These guys here at the top are members of our International Student Society, combining all the different international student societies into one, and they run an annual gala event called Queen's Culture Shock, where once a year, normally in March, we would have a big dinner and music and dance and drama performances incorporating all of those different cultures. And it's one of the best nights of the year on campus. Then you have our our physical education facilities here, including the big rock climbing wall and our own film theatre on campus, where you would probably bump into me several evenings a week after work, because they're really, really good. And actually the film theatre is right there to the left of the main building. So as Matt mentioned with Newcastle, we have a similar campus, which is very, very compact and walkable, and everything is just right on your doorstep, which is nice. So I'll not go into rankings in too much detail. I don't want to bore you with lots and lots of information, but you can see possibly a couple of subjects that you're interested in there. Generally, what to take away from this is that we have 24 subjects in the UK top 20, and also a number of subjects that are ranked in the top 150 and 200 in the world. Generally, that would equate to maybe like the top 1%. So in general, we have a very, very strong reputation, both regionally and globally, for a lot of our subjects. And in terms of the study experience that you could expect whenever you come to Queen's, Matt mentioned earlier about how the UK, one of the big selling points is that employability is so important to us. And that's definitely true whenever you're studying at Queen's University, Belfast. What we would promote is that we offer project-based learning. So it's not always just that traditional classroom setting of sitting, looking at a screen and taking down notes. We will have practical projects to prepare you for the world of work right from day one in your studies. What's interesting about the university is that it's one of only two universities in Northern Ireland, and we're the only Russell Group university. So in terms of access to employers and that professional network, there's pretty much no competition whatsoever. Local and international employers are so invested in the Queen's curriculum and graduates that they'll come and help develop the curriculum. They'll get in and deliver projects on the campus. They'll host field visits and site visits, and then they'll also host lots of students for placements in a bid to try and employ them once they've graduated. So there's lots and lots of integration there. And that was one of the examples there, that folding bike project. That picture on the right is in our computer science building, and that's a student project room where students can go and meet. They can book the room themselves and work on all of their projects together, just like they would in the world of work, like a big meeting room. Again, I mentioned before, interdisciplinary projects, just like you would in the real world. You work with people from lots of different industries and with lots of different skills, and we try and promote that during the studies at Queen's as well. Many of our courses have professional accreditation, as well as one-year placement years, sandwich years, the world-class facilities that I mentioned, and high levels of contact time with staff. One example of that would be in our architecture program. So typically on an architecture program in the UK, you might find that you're in a cohort of 100, 200 people in your first year. At Queen's, it's capped at 80. So that means that you have your own personal studio space from day one, and you have lots and lots of one-to-one support with your teacher, and that's really, really rare. Normally you're having to fight for that space in your architecture facilities. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So in terms of the relationships that the university has with those employers, there are over 3,000 global employers, and also obviously our local ones that are very heavily involved in our curriculum, as well as institutions. So you can see a sample of them there on the screen. But really what that means in real terms is that we're very highly ranked for graduate prospects and placements. And also we're #1 in the UK for entrepreneurial impact. We really support students who have their own business ideas. And at the moment we have nearly 40 spin-out companies, and a lot of them are actually student-led and born out of student ideas during their bachelor subjects, which were nourished during their university studies. So that's something that's important to keep in mind if you would like to be the next Richard Branson. And in terms of just Belfast and Northern Ireland in general, I think sometimes there's a bit of a myth that there isn't really anything happening. It's not, you know, near London or in mainland UK, but that's really not true. As Matt said, the UK is becoming a real business and tech hub because of its accessibility to the rest of Europe. It's spaced right in the middle of the kind of 2 major time zones for business. And certainly for the reasons that I'm going to explain, that it's great for students to live there, it's also just as great for employers to build their headquarters. So for example, one of the world's leading insurance companies, Allstate, built their European headquarters in Belfast just a couple of years ago, a multi-million-pound building. And again, that's for reasons that are just as important for students. So in the health and life sciences area, which I mentioned are quite popular with Indonesian students, 10% of all cholesterol tests worldwide are made right here. There's a company called Randox, which would be a big employer for Queen's students. In tech, #1 city in the world for financial technology investment, #1 in Europe for software development, and top 10 global digital economy of the future. So Queen's has 3 global research institutions, and one of those is ESIT, which I'll show you in a few slides. And that's where a lot of the kind of digital financial technology work is happening. It's a big European hub for that in the UK, and that's why a lot of businesses are centering themselves around all this world-leading research that's happening in connection with the university. And again, that has that knock-on effect of attracting inward investment. So we're #1 in the UK for that. And 10% of the global foreign exchange market flows through Belfast every day, which is about $500 billion. So we're a tiny place, but we have lots and lots of business power and lots of exciting things happening in our city. So don't be deceived. So I'm going to give you a little break now from my voice. Hopefully I'm not going too fast and my accent isn't too hard. You can let me know. I'll check the chat box right now to see, but I'm going to leave you with one of our Indonesian students, Dennis, who did his foundation at Into Queen's in engineering and science and progressed to his year 1 in aerospace engineering. He's now in his final year and one of our key ambassadors. He's really done a fantastic job. So you can hear directly from him.
Hello, my name is Dennis Stefanius-Pati. I'm from Jakarta, Indonesia, and I'm currently...
Sorry guys, we just clicked something else up.
Hello, my name is Dennis Stefanius-Pati. I'm from Jakarta, Indonesia, and I'm currently on 3rd year aerospace engineering students at Queen's University, Belfast. Aerospace engineering is one of the most global and developing engineering sectors of today. Aerospace engineering provides an excellent environment for innovation, creativity, and continuous learning, which is the perfect environment for me to succeed. The resources at the School of Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering are also second to none. From a complete broad engineering journal, high-class industrial software, industrial machinery for your projects, to even an aircraft simulator. These resources, combined with an excellent modules and experienced lecturers, have created a whole new learning experience and undoubtedly
So hopefully that was a good introduction to Queen's after our initial session about how to choose the right bachelor and what different course contents we have there. And it's always good to hear it from the horse's mouth, as we say, and hear from one of our students who have been in the exact same position that you have been in just a few years before, and what a positive experience they've had. So now I'll introduce you to our city, Belfast, and where we are located. So as Matt mentioned, we're quite close to Newcastle, actually, just in the middle of the UK. We are right across the water here in Northern Ireland. We're the capital city of Northern Ireland. And although that is part of the overall island of Ireland, we are geographically and economically part of the UK. As I mentioned, it's a very small, compact city with just over 500,000 people, but I feel that the benefits for that as an international student is that as soon as you arrive here, it's very easy to get around and you're immediately part of the community, and you'll start to recognize people on campus and in the street. You'll very, very quickly feel like home. And the access then that you have from there as a base just keeps going. So for me, I have sisters that live in Glasgow and Edinburgh in Scotland, and I would regularly just take a flight to see them for one night or 2 nights at the weekend, and it takes less than 1 hour, and I'm there for 20 or 30 pounds, depending on when you book. So it's really cheap and really easy to access lots of other UK and European cities. And again, one of those myths about Belfast, sometimes I'm talking to international students and they think of the UK and they think of London. And so maybe they think that if they can't go to London, they would like to be in a city nearby. But actually, it's often quicker and cheaper to go between Belfast and London than one of the other cities in England, because you're having to take a very long and very expensive train to get to and from those cities often. So that's a benefit there. We have the lowest cost of student living in the UK. It's about £5,000 cheaper per year to live in Belfast than it would be to live in London. It's also the safest place to live and the happiest place to live in the UK. So that's 3 big ticks that could go on your list about the city and what it has to offer. So just a little bit of exploration then around the area. What you may or may not know is that the Titanic ship was built in Belfast. We have a very strong shipbuilding industrial history in the area. Now, I know that that story does not have a very positive ending, but we have a little saying here in Belfast that she was fine when she left Belfast, and it was only whenever she left the second port in England that things started to go wrong. So now that area, though, having said that, has moved forward into, as I mentioned, that digital and financial technology district, and it's very, very, very modern, and that's our Global Research Institute that I mentioned as well, right beside the slipways where the Titanic ship was built. But you'll still have that history there. That's one of the world's leading tourist attractions, the Titanic Museum and Hotel as well. So very interesting place to be, with a lot of history and a lot of potential for the future. Then the Cathedral Quarter is really where you would want to find yourself on a Saturday night. There's lots happening, warehouse restaurants, some of the oldest pubs in the city, for example, that I don't know if you can read that, but it's 1680, Belfast's oldest building. And lots of live music and arts venues. You can do a street art tour around the area, so very Instagrammable, that part of the city. Then the Queen's Quarter, where obviously you would be studying. These botanic gardens are right beside the library. You can just about see the back of the administration building of Queen's there. So if you're studying in the library and you would like to have a lunch break in the sun, you can just walk out and come down this path and lie on the grass in the sunshine during the summer months, which is lovely. With some museums and live music venues and restaurants and things nearby. So plenty happening in the Queen's Quarter as well. And then of course the city centre, where you would go and do all of your shopping in the Victoria Centre. And this is one of Europe's leading indoor markets, St George's Market, where of course you will have lots of local produce, but also really great arts and crafts as souvenirs for your friends and family back home. Live music on the weekends, and lots and lots and lots of fresh hot food. So certainly where you would want to be on a Sunday lunchtime for sure. And like I mentioned, Culture Night at Queen's is a smaller campus version of Belfast's Culture Night. Is something actually that's run in lots of cities around Ireland once a year in September, where the entire city shuts down for a day and is taken over by performers, dancers, musicians, even sports performers and things like that. Lots of lovely projects, food and all sorts of things happening from morning to night, on the streets, in shops, in hairdressers, everywhere you can think of. There are these pop-up performances, and it's the best day of the year. I love it. And then on your doorstep from the city, within an hour, pretty much have every kind of landscape you could think of. The Mourne Mountains are just 1 hour away to the south of the city. Again, stunning coastlines, and the Giant's Causeway, which is very, very famous. And these are the dark hedges. I don't know if you guys are fans of Game of Thrones, but Northern Ireland is a filming location, and this is the King's Road from the series. So you can do lots of Game of Thrones tours, for example. But Lonely Planet voted the Northern Ireland Belfast and coastline the #1 place in the world to visit in 2018. So we're seeing lots and lots of tourism at the moment, and you can see why. So hopefully that's a good introduction to Belfast and Northern Ireland, and you have an idea of what you would expect. So now I'm going to just explain to you how you get there. So as Matt's already very helpfully provided lots of information about the Foundation and International Year 1 programme, so I'll not really go into too much of the sort of terms and things like that, but generally the subject areas that we offer at Into Queen's, which is right on campus as well. So our foundation programmes, which give you entry into Year 1, we have engineering and science, business, humanities and social science, and also architecture. And it's worth noting that you don't need a portfolio for your architecture when you're doing that pathway programme. And they offer entry into Year 1 of lots and lots of degree programmes, including the ones that we've looked at today. Okay. Then we'll move forward to our International Year 1 offering. And as Matt mentioned, you will study that. It's designed to match the curriculum of the Year 1 programme at the university. It's very much integrated with staff on campus using a lot of the same facilities. But you're just in a smaller class with a little bit of extra English language support, like Dennis mentioned in the video, the English language and study skills, and that additional support just to make sure that you're succeeding and you're achieving your true potential. And you can move straight into Year 2 at the university afterwards as planned. So we have an International Year 1 in accounting, in management and finance, and in engineering, offering Year 2 entry into all of these subject areas. And as Matt also mentioned, we have an undergraduate degree with International Year 1, where you can combine that with the final 2 years of your studies at the university on one visa and one study plan. Okay. And then, of course, there are possible options of direct entry into QB. For example, if you are studying IB or A-level, that may be an opportunity for you as well. But you would need to check the individual programme requirements, as the entrance levels may vary. But as Matt said, no matter what your circumstances are, no matter what your academic credentials are, we will have a pathway for you and we'll help you access the bachelor that you're looking for. Okay. So in terms of the study experience then, if you are taking on a pathway programme at Into Queen's, what you could expect is really comprehensive student support services. Our student support team would assist you from your arrival right through to your transfer to the university with your visa, your accommodation while you're into, all the practical things when you first arrive, which can seem a little bit overwhelming initially, like opening a bank account, registering with a doctor, and all of those things. They're there to help you get all of that sorted out when you first arrive. Then the progression team, that's me. I'm based in the centre to help you progress to the next steps in your studies once you've finished with Into. So that's managing your university application, checking your exam results to make sure you're on track or getting any extra support that you might need, and having lots and lots of events to make sure that you're integrated with the campus, with your future facilities, your future teachers and classmates, so that you're already part of the community before you even transfer onto the university. And of course, all those practical things like paying your tuition fees and which scholarships you're available for, that's what my team will provide to you while you're there as well. And the academic support finally, in terms of managing your personal study plan and which subjects on your pathway are going to help you get on to the bachelor programme that you're planning to progress to. and providing you with lots of feedback along the way to make sure that you're right on track to achieve your goals and keep moving through as you have planned. So you'll see a few photos from some of the events that we would put on for the students, both social and academic, as part of the study experience in Two Queens. Of course, something that's, somewhat the elephant in the room always at the moment is just how are we going to manage this through COVID? And I just want to reassure you that there are lots and lots of different measures in place for students who are studying during the pandemic, and it is ongoing, and we'll see what happens. We're very, very hopeful with the rollout of the vaccines that we'll be able to offer more and more time on campus and in-person engagement. But for the moment, just to reassure you that our online learning has been so successful and so well received by our students, as well as the implementations that we've made on campus for health and safety with social distancing, one-way systems, optional testing right on campus for any staff and students who want to be accessing any of the facilities that they can book at any time. And of course, the app for all of our tracking and tracing as well. So we certainly do have lots and lots of plans in place to ensure your safety and well-being while you're studying. So before I wrap up, I'll just give you one more Indonesian student experience from the business side this time. And this is Jesselyn, who progressed from our business foundation to Actuarial Science just in September 2020, about her experience.
Hi everyone, I'm Jesselyn from Indonesia. I'm a NITA student taking foundation in
Okay, so lots of different benefits, as Matt mentioned, to online study as well. And Jesselyn is a great example of that, and she's thriving. She's doing so well at our Actuarial Science, and it's really great to stay in touch and find out how she's getting on. So finally, just in terms of what financial incentives there are, if you're planning to or considering a pathway at Into Queen's to progress to Queen's University Belfast, these are the types of scholarships that you could expect. So we're into regional scholarships of up to £3,000. And also, as Matt mentioned, we have our accelerated intakes of certain pathways starting in March in our spring intake. And if you were to do that this year, there are additional scholarships of up to £3,000. And depending on where you decide to study, again, as Matt mentioned, that's start when you can approach. Depending on where you are, we could apply that to your accommodation on campus or your tuition fees. Then whenever you progress to the university, you could expect to have up to £5,000 discounted from your first year of study at Queen's University Belfast. There are additional scholarship opportunities which you can apply for as well, but generally all students can expect up to £5,000 initially, and then anything else is application only and may or may not be applied. Then for students who are joining the university for the first time on a full duration degree programme in September 2021. So for example, if you did an accelerated foundation starting from our spring intake this year and progressing to our Bachelor in 2021, these would be all of the scholarships that would apply to you. And if you achieved over 75% GPA in that year one at Queen's, you would then receive £2,000 off your second year of tuition fees. And that also applies as you go into third year as well. So you would have several £1,000s deducted from all years of your study if you followed that study plan, for example. So lots and lots of financial incentives if you are considering any of our centres, but these are specific to Into Queen's and Queen's University. So I hope that has been useful information and you've enjoyed the session on how to pick the right bachelor for you and a little intro to Into Queens and Belfast, you're welcome to follow us and check out our social media pages. But I think for now then I will wrap up and we can do our Q&A.
Okay, thank you, Ciara, for your explanation.
Very
Hopefully
welcome.
the information is very clear to all the students attending here.
Great,
So
that's good.
before we move into question and answer, I want to invite Pak Ibrahim. You want to add something? Hello, Pak.
Oke. Halo. Kedengeran suara saya?
Yes, very clear, Pak.
Oke. Menurut aku hampir semuanya sih udah cukup jelas apa yang sudah dijelaskan dengan Ciara. Perkenalkan saya dengan Ibam dari Into. Jadi Into kita juga punya representatif di Indonesia juga, and we work very closely dengan IBEC. Seperti yang udah di-mention mengenai program kita punya standar program which is 9 bulan starting di September ini paling cepat. Kita ada program foundation atau mungkin teman-teman yang udah lulus kelas 12 kita punya program international year 1 juga. Dan seperti yang udah di-mention kita juga offer program with scholarships. Jadi starting foundation ataupun international year 1 teman-teman bisa mendapatkan tambahan scholarships additional up to 3.000 pound sterling. Ya, nanti untuk further infonya bisa coba kontak ke IBEC juga, dan ketika kalian progress ke university kalian juga bisa dapat tambahan scholarships juga. Jadi nggak hanya starting di foundation aja atau international year 1 tapi sampai kalian progress ke university juga gitu. Sekian sih dari aku, mungkin bisa langsung ke Q&A atau dari IBEC ada yang mau ditambahin?
Okay. Let us start the question and answer. If you want to ask to Ciara, please put in the chat box, or you can live questioning here. Okay, let me check the chat box. Hello, Miss Ciara from Adarestu. He like to ask you about full scholarship assistant at QB.
At the moment, so we used to have our Vice Chancellor's International Attainment Scholarship, which requires a video application. Used to be a full scholarship at QUB, and there would have been 2 opportunities for bachelor students to achieve that. But we had so many applications and then so few allocations of the scholarship that we felt that it would be more fair to have slightly less available to more people. So this year that scholarship has changed and it's 50% off each year of your study. So that would be the closest thing that we would have to that at Queen's at the moment. So certainly as you progress through, I can provide more information on the scholarship opportunities. But this year, the Vice Chancellor's Award is 50% available to more students than what would have been the full scholarship before. And Yaya, I have seen your PhD inquiry.
Yes.
I'll have a look at what the PhD funding opportunities are, and I'll send you my email so that we can discuss that as well later. I wouldn't have a straight answer right now because it really depends on the individual PhD program. So I'll have a look at that and get back to you.
Okay, thank you. So Yaya already answered by Ciara. Anyone else want to ask to Ciara or to Matt or to Ibrahim? Anyone, please?
Hi, Ciara. Hendra here.
Hi, Hendra.
It was very interesting presentation. Very nice. I've never been to Belfast, soon to be. Been to Newcastle a few times. If you have to describe Belfast in one word, like if people ask me to describe Newcastle in one word, I would say lively. How would you describe?
That's a good.
Yeah.
I think for Belfast, we have a local word in Belfast, which I think completely encapsulates our city, and it's an Irish word. It's crack. It's spelled C-R-A-I-C, and it just means good times. You have good crack when you come to Belfast. There's lots of culture, there's live music, there's good food, there's friendly people, and all of that is just condensed into good crack. That's my answer to that question.
All right, but it's an Irish word, yeah?
Yeah.
How do you spell?
I'll pop it in the chat for you. Oh, sorry, I've sent that to yeah. So crack, that's a local Irish word. And that's the word that I would say describes Belfast best.
Okay. Now, the next question. If you're comparing between the program of mathematics and actuarial science, certain students are getting confused. We have some students who are thinking about Queen's University Belfast. So they have been comparing between subjects of mathematics and the subjects of actuarial science. Any idea how to advise them best? Like, should they go for actuarial or should they go for the mathematics?
I think they should only choose actuarial science if they're very confident that that's their career that they want to go to. Because actuarial science, you're going to be an actuarial scientist if you do that degree program. And it doesn't leave as much room for flexibility or movement as you would have if you studied mathematics, which you could then apply to lots of different industries, or decide to do a master's program, for example, in something that's a little bit more specialized. I would advise only choosing actuarial science as a bachelor if you are totally sure that that's the industry and the career that you want to have.
Okay, now next questions. I got a lot of, not a lot of, I have few questions given by the parents of our students. They say, in terms of our architecture program, they realize that students, before they can apply to the university, they are required to provide a portfolio. So when the students is doing the foundations, are they going to be taught as well on how to make a good portfolio for architecture?
It is part of the foundation, creating a portfolio, that is part of their curriculum, but it's not a requirement to present a portfolio to the university to progress. As long as they meet the progression requirements of their foundation grades, they will progress directly to the university. Whereas if you were applying as a direct entry student to the university, then you would require to present a portfolio. When you do the foundation, they just accept the foundation instead of that.
Right, so it's very convenient for most students, yeah?
Absolutely.
Can I just ask the same questions to Matt? For Newcastle, is this applied the same, the architecture portfolio?
Same principle applies.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it's a benefit of looking at this, the foundation route for students potentially.
So once they step into the foundations, afterwards they will just go straight to the university, yeah?
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Cool. Well, it does help. Some of my students say it's not easy to make a portfolio, but if it is part of the foundations, then they should be fine.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, and I also just remember that one of my students interested in mathematics and statistics, but also wants to be like an actuarial. So what do you think about that? So Ciara.
Well, it depends on how certain they are. I would kind of go back to that initial answer. If they're just interested in actuarial science as a possible degree program, I would probably advise them to stick with the mathematics and statistics for now, and they can certainly apply that to that industry. Only if they are 100% certain that they're going to go into actuarial science as a career and they're happy to stick with that, then they would be able to do that bachelor. And bearing in mind as well that the progression requirements and the entry requirements for actuarial science quite a bit higher than it would be for the likes of maths or other business subjects. So it's good to have a backup plan anyway for the students who are quite keen on actuarial science. It can be quite difficult to achieve the academic requirements to go to that program. So it's good for them to consider other options anyway.
Oh, okay.
Just to add to that as well, there are obviously, if you took a maths program, there are opportunities to study actuarial science at a postgraduate level if they then ultimately decided that was where they want to go. But I think Ciara's absolutely right. If you know that's the direction of travel you want to move in, fantastic. If you have any uncertainty there, it's probably a good idea to keep some doors open.
Or let's say we can say like if she or he want to study mathematics or either statistics, but for master he like more specific into actuarial. I think student can do the subject like that. Yeah.
Sounds like a good plan.
Okay, so for any student want to ask about your plan for study, perhaps confused like Pak Hendra said before, between mathematics, between actuarial science, or maybe about engineering, about anything else, please feel free to ask here.
Ada lagi yang mau tanya, silahkan. Kalau ragu-ragu, boleh di kolom chat. Mau ngobrol langsung juga boleh, silahkan.
Yeah, perhaps talking about continue study, maybe you can like imagining that your whole life will stick with your like hobby perhaps, or like anything in mind, your career, anything else in the future. So please, if you want to ask anything about your degree, feel free to ask here.
Okay, another question from me to represent my student, Matt, Newcastle. They remember that Newcastle is always known for engineering, for marine engineering or for computer science. But how would they see, for example, if a student thinking of doing computer science at Newcastle University, they'll go from the foundation, because they just finished the high school in Indonesia with national curriculum, then choose the computer science foundation program that leads to the computer science at Newcastle. When they do their foundation, before they start, is there any specific skills needed by the school that probably student must have this amount of skills in coding or this amounts of skills in programming or whatever? Any advice on that?
That's a great question. Yeah, and I think this probably applies across our centers where we offer computing programs. Generally speaking, the foundation, because of the nature of the partnership and the fact that the program is validated by the university, it does mean that the foundation will capture everything you need to continue successfully. However, particularly where you are planning to maybe do a software engineering program or something where you think it's going to be quite programming heavy at the degree level, we definitely always support, we're very supportive of students taking on kind of some learning around programming in the first instance, just to get their hand in. I'm thinking about things like Python courses on Code Academy and things like that that you can do that are free, that are fun, and just give you a bit of a head start on that side of things. So my advice would be definitely consider it if you're planning to go on a programming heavy route. So anything where you're going to be, writing any script or anything early on, it definitely helps to have explored that. And it will support your application as well if you can speak to that on your application. But it won't be necessary for you to, for example, already be able to code in Java or Python before you start. It's certainly going to help. And obviously what I think we believe it into is always you don't want to just look at the minimum requirements. You want to prepare yourself as well as possible. So, I would say if you have the time and you have the interest, there's lots of free resource out there, particularly on the programming side. Just start with Python, get your head around that, and do some of the free courses online, and that will stand you in good stead. You won't have wasted your time, will be very helpful. And when you are on the foundations around computing science, then you've got a platform to build on, which will be fantastic. So it's not needed or required, but I would wholeheartedly support people doing that, especially if you have a bit of time before your foundation starts. It's a great way to prepare.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Matt.
Okay, there is a question, Pak, from Shirley Herling in the chat box. Okay, please to Ciara or Matt to answer, please.
Okay, hang on. Just a quick one before she left. Mbak Yurika, where are you?
Yes, I'm here, Pak.
Okay, now we also have Mbak Yurika. She is the staff of QUB International Office, who is based in Indonesia. So we are working closely with them. If anyone would like to be in touch with Mbak Yurika, perhaps you can also leave your email on the chat box, yeah, Mbak Yurika?
Yes, sure. Let me leave my chat box. I'm so sorry, I have another meetings at 5 now, but I'm going to share my details to everyone here. So please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Yeah, this is my email and my WhatsApp.
Okay.
Thank you, Pak Hendra. Thank you, Mbak Dian.
Thank you. Okay. Question from thanks. Questions from Mbak Shirley. In order to apply for foundation, the students need to pass the IELTS. Any other tests will the students be required to provide a good result from their high school in Indonesia? Will the result be one of the factors that determine the acceptance of it? Okay, the answer is yes. For students applying foundation, Into will look at your school report. Into will also look at your IELTS test. So, well, obviously they are expecting you to have a good result on your final report. Ya, pastikan nilai rapotnya rata-ratanya bisa di atas 7,5 ya. Dengan nilai itu maka kecenderungan diterimanya pasti akan lebih besar. Kalau bahasa Inggrisnya, Pak Ibam, IELTS-nya berapa?
Oke.
6
untuk
atau
gimana Pak, maaf?
IELTS-nya 6 atau 5,5 ya?
Kalau foundation starting dari 5,5 Pak. Kalau
5,5.
6.0, betul.
Oke, nah tuh kan IELTS-nya lebih mudah, 5,5 sekarang udah pasti dapat lah. Most students in Indonesia, they always get IELTS of minimum 6.0. So IELTS won't be a problem. Ya.
From Maulani, Pak.
Maulani, Pak Hendra untuk SMA kurikulum saya perlu bisa. Okay. The questions is from Indonesian high school. What are the preparations of requirement needed? Okay, basically, excuse me, Matt and Ciara, I'll be answering in Indonesia. Untuk persyaratan yang diperlukan sebetulnya cukup sederhana. Nilai rapot saja yang semester, kalau sekarang ini kelas 3, Juni ini lulus, berarti nilai rapot aja yang semester kemarin itu sudah bisa dipakai untuk mendaftar. Yang pasti nilainya sudah diterjemahkan ke dalam bahasa Inggris. Kemudian IELTS-nya itu boleh menyusul. Tidak harus dilampirkan pertama kali saat mendaftar. Jadi cukup nilai rapot yang semester kemarin, kemudian ada paspor, ada apa lagi ya, itu saja. Nanti detail-detail lainnya kita akan bantu untuk isikan di formulir pendaftarannya itu. Seperti itu, Pak Maulani, mudah-mudahan menjawab pertanyaannya ya. Pak Iba mau menambahkan?
Kalau untuk nilai biasanya tergantung dari center yang kita yang kalian apply kemana, karena kita ada banyak center across UK. Jadi biasanya mungkin tadi juga udah sempat di-mention dengan Ciara, untuk foundation biasanya kita starting melihat dari completion year 11. Jadi kalian dari mungkin kalian sudah complete SMA kelas 2, udah bisa start foundation, atau kalau untuk yang program international year 1 biasanya harus lulus kelas 12. Jadi kalau untuk nilai biasanya variety dari sekitar starting dari 7.0 sampai 8,0 ke atas. Dan ditambah biasanya kalau student yang punya grades-nya tinggi, biasanya kita juga bisa awards additional scholarships. Jadi grades nggak hanya determine untuk dari segi entrance saja, tapi juga determine untuk scholarships gitu. Before we go, I would like to introduce you to Jaflan as well from Into Queens.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Sorry for being late here because I got another meeting, so just came over. Very nice to see you guys.
Nice to see you too.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, okay. So is that all, Pak Ibam, the additional info?
Yes, that is.
Yeah. For the partial scholarships,
okay.
Yeah, each student will be reviewed based on their score. Yeah.
Yes, betul.
The
Perhaps,
higher
Jaflan, do you have any additional scholarships for Indonesian students for Into Queens?
So for this year, we currently don't have any further scholarship at the moment. But what we are currently doing is, so we do have a relatively very soon, we will have our center scholarship pod. So anything that if students has any financial concerns or etc., they can always come to us because we would like to support them. So speak to the IBEC and then we will be support student if your student has any financial concerns for 100%. We do have a scholarship, but we didn't get the clear scholarship set it up yet for the new September 2021, but it will be up soon, very soon.
Okay, right. So basically, we don't have to worry about it, yeah?
Yes.
As long as we have good score, high IELTS, then most probably the partial scholarship will be more than enough.
Yes.
Okay, right. So I guess, Mbak Iva, we have covered everything. We thank you so much to Ciara, Matt has left earlier, Pak Ibrahim, and Jaflan. Thank you for attending the event. Thank you for sharing the information. It was very nice, very useful.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much for everyone. So for all of students who still want to ask questions, you can directly message to us, to IBEC. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks so much for having us. We'll see you soon.
Thank you so much, IBEC.
Bye.
Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.